Today, our topic is what Plato would say about today's society. Plato, one of the greatest philosophers in history, lived over 2,000 years ago, but his ideas still make us think deeply about life, society, and how we should live. If Plato were alive today, he would probably have a lot to say about the way we live, the choices we make, and the problems we face. Let's imagine what he might think about modern society, and what lessons we can learn from his wisdom. First, Plato believed in the importance of justice and fairness. In his famous work, The Republic, he described an ideal society where everyone has a role that suits their abilities, and leaders are wise and just. If Plato saw today's world, he might notice that many societies are far from fair. Some people have too much power and wealth, while others struggle to survive. He would likely say that we need to focus more on fairness and making sure everyone has a chance to live a good life. Plato would probably criticize the way we often prioritize money and material things over what truly matters, like kindness, wisdom, and helping others. He believed that a good life is not about having the most things, but about being virtuous and living with purpose. In today's society, we are often distracted by technology, social media, and endless entertainment. Plato might say that these things are like shadows on the wall of a cave, keeping us from seeing the real truth. In his famous Allegory of the cave, he described people who are chained and can only see shadows on a wall, thinking they are real. When one person escapes and sees the outside world, they realize the shadows were just illusions. Plato might compare our obsession with screens and virtual worlds to those shadows, warning us not to lose touch with reality and the deeper meaning of life. He would encourage us to step away from distractions and seek true knowledge and understanding. Another thing Plato would likely talk about is education. He believed that education is the key to a better society. In his ideal world, education would help people develop their minds and characters, not just learn facts or skills for a job. If Plato saw today's education systems, he might be disappointed that many schools focus too much on memorization and test scores, instead of teaching students how to think critically and live wisely. He would probably say that we need to teach young people not just how to make a living, but how to live a good and meaningful life. Plato also had strong ideas about leadership. He believed that the best leaders are those who are wise, just, and care about the common good, not their own power or wealth. If Plato saw today's politicians and leaders, he might be frustrated by how often they seem to serve their own interests instead of the people they are supposed to represent. He would likely say that we need leaders who are philosophers in the truest sense, people who love wisdom and use it to make the world a better place. Plato would also have something to say about the way we treat the environment. While he didn't live in a time of climate change or pollution, he believed in living in harmony with nature and respecting the balance of the world. If he saw how we are damaging the planet for short-term gains, he might urge us to think more about the long-term consequences of our actions and to take better care of the earth. One of Plato's most important ideas is the concept of the forms. He believed that there is a perfect version of everything: justice, beauty, goodness, and that the things we see in the world are just imperfect copies of these perfect forms. If Plato looked at today's society, he might say that we have lost sight of these ideals. We often settle for less than what is truly good or beautiful, whether in our relationships, our work, or our communities. He would encourage us to strive for higher standards and not be satisfied with mediocrity. Plato also valued self-control and discipline. He believed that a good life requires mastering our desires and emotions, not letting them control us. In today's world, where we are constantly tempted by instant gratification, whether it's fast food, online shopping, or endless entertainment, Plato would likely advise us to practice moderation and self-discipline. He would say that true happiness comes from within, not from external pleasures. Another important lesson from Plato is the value of questioning and critical thinking. He believed that we should always seek the truth and not accept things at face value. In today's society, where we are bombarded with information and opinions from the media, social networks, and other sources, Plato would encourage us to think for ourselves and not just follow the crowd. He would say that we should question what we are told and look for evidence and reason before making up our minds. Plato also believed in the power of friendship and community. He thought that we are social beings who need each other to thrive. In today's world, where many people feel lonely and disconnected despite being more connected than ever through technology, Plato would likely remind us of the importance of real, meaningful relationships. He would say that we should spend time with people who inspire us to be better and who share our values. Finally, Plato would probably talk about the importance of knowing ourselves. He believed that self-awareness is the first step to living a good life. In a world where we are often distracted and busy, Plato would encourage us to take time to reflect on who we are, what we value, what we want to achieve. He would say that only by understanding ourselves can we make wise choices and live with purpose. In conclusion, if Plato were alive today, he would likely have much to say about the challenges and opportunities of modern society. He would remind us of the importance of justice, wisdom, and self-control. He would encourage us to seek true knowledge, question what we are told, and strive for higher ideals. He would urge us to take care of the planet, value education, and build strong communities. And above all, he would remind us to know ourselves and live with purpose. While the world has changed a lot since Plato's time, his timeless wisdom still has much to teach us about how to live a good and meaningful life. Let us take his lessons to heart and strive to create a society that reflects the best of what it means to be human.